In today's video, I have to survive 100 days in the abyss. I have 3 objectives. First, craft full Rhino Berserker armor and a legendary sword. Second, defeat the Tarantula broodmother. And third, eliminate the Undertaker, king of the southern abyss. Can I survive in this unknown dimension? Stay tuned to find out. Do you want to fight the custom bosses you see in our videos? Consider subscribing to our Patreon. For only $5 a month, you'll have access to our exclusive maps, private SMP server, which features our custom bosses, and much more. Link is in the description.
Wait, what kind of cave is that?
I'm not sure. Never seen anything like this.
Let's go check it out. This cave is really strange.
I wonder what kind of ores we'll find. What the heck? I survived that fall? Where the heck am I? I'm gonna have to try and find Painful too. And on day 1, I began my journey in the abyss. I started by getting sugarcane and seeds, then got some wood, immediately got my stone tools, and ran into some beetles. They didn't seem to be hostile, but I killed them anyway because I needed food, but they didn't drop anything edible. After killing a few more of those, I peered over the edge, saw a rat, beetles, and a wasp. This dimension was gonna be dangerous. After a bit of traveling, I was getting really low on food and ran into some spiders. These ones moved a lot differently than normal spiders, but I killed them anyway. This dimension was getting a lot creepier by the minute. I spoke too soon because I ended up running straight into a scorpion as well. I managed to avoid it, made myself a fishing rod, and started fishing for food. The fish sometimes got stuck in the mud, but I managed to get salmon and some regular fish. I then ran into a grasshopper and decided to leave him alone. And while getting wood and coal, I noticed only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you do enjoy the video, subscribing is greatly appreciated. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. So after getting all that wood and coal, I found a little cave, which ended up being a dead end, but I thought it would be a perfect spot to make my first base. So I lit up the cave, tidied up the outside a bit, added a stairwell up, and then I decided it was time to go on a mining trip. Made sure to plant my sugarcane first, mined some jade, and for the next 3 days I mined as much iron and coal as I could. I then smelted up some iron and got some iron armor, and once I returned to the surface I ended up finding some melons in the jungle. But when I returned back to base, a tarantula was waiting outside and started to attack me. Luckily I was able to defeat it, but then when I got to my front door, there were wasps inside my base. How the heck did they get inside? They poisoned me, so I had to be really careful and started killing them from outside the door. After taking out the wasps, I decided to pick up all my stuff and relocate as the spot was a bit too dodgy. So after traveling for a little bit, I ended up going on top of a tree and started to build a hybrid base that was on top of a tree and inside of a hill. Then planted down more sugarcane, chopped a bunch more wood, made some room for storage, and made myself a melon farm on top of the hill above. On day 13, I decided to start traveling and ran into some centipedes. And before I knew it, I was already getting swarmed, and they got me down to 4 hearts. These things were charging at me so fast, I ran away as fast as I could and ended up finding myself inside of a volcanic desert. I used the lava to my advantage to escape, but then ended up running into a black widow spider. I did not want to get bit by this thing, so I kept my distance and managed to take it out. I figured since I was in a desert, why not collect some sand walls here? I then also noticed there was a bunch of ores in the ceiling, so I pillared up to a bunch of ores and mined for a bit. I decided to start fishing as well because I started getting really low on food. And while returning home, I ended up finding a jungle temple. I walked in through a piston door, and I noticed there was a chest up top. I gathered some of the cobwebs for some string, got up to the chest and got some bones, arrows, and some gold. I then broke out of the jungle temple, collected some turnips on the way home, got some cocoa beans and some wood, and then I started to work on my base for the next couple of days. Make sure to drop a like if you're enjoying so far. Let's shoot for maybe 100 likes. After designing the exterior, I also expanded the inside. I then crafted myself an iron chest plate. When at my melon farms, I heard a strange noise. It ended up being a rhino-plated beetle. He did some decent damage, so I had to be careful, but I ended up taking him out. I ended up finding a second one as well, and used a water bucket to my advantage so that he couldn't get near me. These are the beetles that dropped me the rhino plate, which allowed me to craft rhino plated boots. On day 21, I decided to go mining again, and ended up running into a spider spawner, and they ended up being jumping spiders as well. They were pretty dang tough too. They took a lot of hits before I could kill them. I tried to go back in to light it up, and there was even more that spawned. So I ran away, regened my health, and went back in and broke the spawner. All that work in the chest barely had anything too. I then continued mining for the next 4 days and got myself a bunch of ores. While mining, I ended up running into this strange creature. I wasn't sure what it was and ended up burrowing into the ground. I tried digging after it, but it was gone. I then looked around some more and ended up finding another one of those creatures. I killed it with my pickaxe, killed a second one with my pickaxe, and they both ended up dropping me diamonds. I ended up mining a bunch of golden lapis, found another one of those creatures, and then found 2 more near bedrock. I then returned to the surface and went to the volcanic desert to get some obsidian. I then spent the next couple of days returning back to base, farmed my sugarcane, made some books and an enchantment table. table, redid my flooring, and then made a little spot for my enchantment room. I then enchanted my boots, placed down the bookshelves, and decided to go exploring from days 30 to 34. I ended up fighting a dragonfly, which picked me up, but I managed to take it out somehow. I then fought a mosquito in the swamp as well. The thing was kind of creepy looking. Immediately after fighting the mosquito, there was a centipede that got stuck in the mud and died. That was weird. I then turned around and saw some sort of wizard tower. I decided to approach it and ended up running into another rhino-plated beetle. This one got me pretty low, but I managed to take it out. I then entered the wizard tower, which had brewing stands, some blaze powder and wither ash, bookshelves, and even some netherwort in the basement. I'm not sure who this wizard tower belonged to, but I borrowed some of their materials, and while heading back home, I ended up fighting a bunch more rhino-plated beetles. I then got jumped by some sort of botfly. I started running out of food and ran to another one of those centipedes. But lucky for me, I ended up finding some old rundown base. I wasn't sure whose base this was, but I took some of the wheat for some food, crafted up some bread, and realized there was a little cave behind the base as well. I slowly approached the cave and there was somebody inside.
Hello? Painful?
Hello?
Oh, who are you?
Who are you?
Just an adventurer. Have you seen a bald guy with sunglasses? Very shiny bald head? You couldn't have missed him.
Nope, never seen him. You should be careful around here, though. There's a lot of critters you need to look out for, like a lot.
Trust me, I've seen plenty of spiders already.
Oh, those are just the baby ones. If you see their mother, run as fast as you can.
Okay, thanks for the advice. I'll be going now.
Well, that was strange. I started to head back home and ended up finding some strange looking water bug. I was really low on food, so I was gonna need to fish for a bit, but I finally made it back home on day 42. When I made it back, I made a netherwort farm, placed down my brewing stands, smelted some iron, crafted an enchanted rhino plate leggings, filled up some water bottles, and then right next to the melon farm, I built a big wheat farm. Wouldn't hurt having another food source. I decided I wanted to go exploring and ended up finding a prey mantis. It dropped camouflage powder, and then I decided I'd mine for a bit. I ended up finding my first vein of diamonds, and then found an 8 pocket immediately after. I then got a bunch more ores like lapis, coal, and iron, and then returned back to base on day 51. For the next couple of days, I did some brewing, making some strength 2 and speed 2 potions, farmed some melons, made some instant health potions, and then while getting wood, I ended up hearing some thunder in the background. I wasn't sure what that was, but I kept on getting wood. With that wood, I finished all the bookshelves in the enchantment room. On day 53, I decided to go exploring and ended up finding some fossils. This gave me bone shards, which I knew would be good to make some arrows. So I decided to craft and enchant a bow with power 3, made myself a diamond chestplate and enchanted that, and then on day 54, I started to explore. Got jumped by a bunch of jumping spiders, which I took out pretty easily, and started to traverse a strange looking biome. I then mined some of this red glowstone, which I could turn into redstone. I then found a spawner, which ended up being some sort of fly spawner, because I got attacked by a bunch of them right after I broke it. I then got stuck in a web and killed some sort of butterfly, which dropped glowstone dust. On day 59, I ended up running into some strange looking building, and then some sort of camouflage bug started attacking me. That's not something you see every day. When I approached, I realized this was the lair of the tarantula broodmother. There was a bunch of tarantulas in the bottom, so I drank my potions and started taking them out one by one. After taking out a bunch of the tarantulas, I went inside and broke the few spawners, had to retreat for a little bit and healed myself, and took out the rest of the spawners on the first floor. There ended up being some chests underneath, which had some okay loot. I then tried climbing up the vine to the second floor and bowed down a bunch of the spiders. I tried using my axe as well, but couldn't do so without getting hit. There almost seemed to be an infinite amount of these spiders, so I decided to dig underneath and broke the spawners from below. After taking out both spawners and looting the chests, there was still a ton of spiders up there. So I decided to just take the alternate route, pillaged straight up, and found the tarantula broodmother on top. So I started bowing her down. I first bowed her down to half HP, but then realized I couldn't bow her anymore, so I went down to attack her with my axe. This might not have been a good idea because she had a ton of little minions, so I had to pill her back up and heal up. I went back down again and realized this was going to be a really tough battle, so I kited around a lot, and after taking out a lot of the minions, I used some of the blocks to my advantage to keep the tarantula mother away from me. I then used a bucket of water to keep her away, landed a few more hits, and then landed the final hit on the tarantula broodmother. She flipped over on her back and let out a scream, exploding and giving a ton of XP. It even dropped a chest plate and a spider egg as well. On the way back home, I ended up fighting some tarantulas and was running really low on food, so I had to run away from them. I also ended up finding some strange looking structure on the way back, which had a ton of these rhino beetles around. Luckily, I ended up finding some melons in a jungle, otherwise I could have starved to death. I finally arrived back home on day 66, crafted myself a rhino plate helmet, enchanted a sharpness 3 book, enchanted the helmet, and enchanted the tarantula boss chest plate. I then wanted to get a lot of bamboo bamboo, as I was gonna use a lot of it for my next build. I first gathered my netherwort farms and started getting to work on building myself a watchtower. I wanted it to be completely out of bamboo so that it stood out a bit, and so it would just have a different feel. On day 72, I decided to go exploring again and ran into some weird looking liquid. It gave me poison, but it ended up wearing off after a while. I also ran into some really large beetles in this biome, so I used my bow to defeat them, and ran into some more dragonflies. I also ran into those strange beetles that light up, and some more grasshoppers. I then found another one of those spider spawners, and for some reason there was a ton of silverfish. So I defeated all the silverfish and spiders. After breaking the spawner, I ended up finding some cool looking statue in one of the chests. Continuing my journey through the biome, I ended up finding some pumpkins, so I decided to wear one on my head. I ended up running into some strange looking cave which had a chest in it. I opened the chest and there was some gold, but little did I realize it was the Hobbit's base and he started to attack me.
Hey, are you taking my stuff?
Wait, I didn't know. It's me, the guy from before.
Who?
I think I lost him. Oh god, he's still there.
So I kept on running through the biomes, doing my best to escape from the Hobbit. After a couple days of running, I finally lost him, but I realized I was a little bit lost now that I had ran for so long. So I traversed through the ulterior outback biome, fought some more rhino-plated beetles, fought these weird ant-looking things called solifuges, and there was some parasite that was infecting me, giving me levitation and hunger. It took me a while, but I was able to kill it eventually. After making it through that biome, I finally made my way back home on day 83. I placed the statue down in my base, crafted a rhino-plated chest piece, enchanted a new pickaxe because I somehow lost my old one, enchanted the chest piece, and decided to go exploring into the volcanic desert again. Ended up finding some fossils, fought some ant lions. These things are pretty creepy, but pretty easy to kill. I ended up running into a strange-looking tower, but all of a sudden got swarmed by a ton of the solifuges. They even broke my helmet. So I quickly ran away using a water bucket to escape, and killed the last one that was chasing me with a bow. I then approached the building, entered it, and there was wither skeletons in the bottom. After defeating the few wither skeletons in the bottom floor, I started to make my way up the staircase. I was greeted by even more wither skeletons, which I took out using my axe, climbed up to the 3rd floor and got jumped by even more, but eventually reached the loot room and got a ton of gold blocks, gold, wither dust, and a legendary sword. On my way home back to base, I fought some more of the rhino-plated beetles, and finally made it back. On day 92, I made a new helmet, enchanted it with protection 4, repaired my leggings, harvested my melons and my wheat farm, restocked, and brewed some new potions, and decided to go out exploring for Painful again. And while searching, I saw some weird looking skull in the distance. All of a sudden, I dropped into some room, and it just had a chest in it. Kind of strange to be out in the middle of the desert. So I dug out, I pillared up to the skull, and the Undertaker, the ruler of the Southern Abyss, was there. I drank my potions, and he spawned in 10 of his minions. I started to fight them all with my legendary sword, taking them out one by one, but he just kept on spawning more. I kept taking them out, but I couldn't keep up with the amount he was spawning, so I healed myself, kept on attacking them, and landed my first hit on the Undertaker. I tried going in for another hit, had to heal again, and started taking them out even more. I went straight for the Undertaker again, but got overwhelmed by the amount of zombies. So I healed myself, went in again for the Undertaker, and took out the ruler of the Southern Abyss. He ended up dropping some strange looking staff on the ground called Midnight Morn. This allowed me to summon in my own undead army just like the Undertaker. Unfortunately, they didn't stick around forever. And while heading back, I ended up finding this strange looking mansion on day 100. So I slowly approached it, broke into the side, and then...
Painful? Wait, why does that tombstone have my name on it?
Wait, what? You're alive? Dr. Zuru had me convinced that he had killed you.
Who the heck is Dr. Zuru? Oh, are you referring to the hobo that lives in the cave?
Hobo? I was talking about the, never mind. I'm just glad to see that you're alive.
Likewise, let's get the heck out of this dimension.
If you made it this far, make sure to watch Painful's video. We each had different objectives, which made our videos a lot different. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one.